just try and get the bread. Hate chicken, rather see me dead. I'm just counting paper in my bed. That's why the chickens saying what they said, huh? I told them chickens they don't want to smoke. Fuck around and you gon' be a ghost. I see the suckers shoot to your post. Watch your motherfucker get a pistol to your throat. What we do?
Shout out, we gotta shout out our alma mater. You know, the people, you know, we were. I'm gonna speak for myself on that point. I climbed through that. Woo! That's another system that we're gonna talk about there. And
yeah.
But you know what? Shout out to MSU, go Red Hawks. For that, we are grateful for our degrees. I studied psychology. What did you study?
Fashion studies.
Ooh. Yes, you're excited to interview you. I see you, especially because I'm in my mid-30s, well, excuse me, late 30s. So I see you as the youth. I see you as, you know, the new generation to come before, you know, after me, you know, and to continue the work and the fight that we seem to be undergoing right now as Black women. And you resonated with me, like I told you in that phone call, when I scrolled through your Instagram page, and you were speaking, you spoke to my spirit, first of all, because for one, I had been undergoing some turmoil with my now previous employer, and it did seem like it was racially, like, you know, based, you know, it felt like there was like a bias. It felt like there was like this, goodness, the only analogy that I can put is like this stronghold, like over, like on my throat, you know, for lack of better terms, in like literally squeezing the life out of me. And when I read your post, it was profound, and it was speaking towards white men specifically. Like you were going in. I'm not gonna quote you, but you were going in. And
yes, I actually in my friend's library one day, and I seen this book, and so it basically found me because I didn't even know the book existed. So I found her book, and I said, "Well, can I?" And it actually took me probably like 2 months to even start reading it because it was the language she uses and the subject matter interesting, but at the same time, it's really hard to just sit there and read. So I think at a point in my life, I just went through so many drastic changes that I was like, this is the time to read this book. And as I was reading it, I had to keep stopping and saying, wow, because I was just so shocked that not only am I seeing someone saying things that I thought, because even if you have Black feminists in your life, maybe they don't examine everything from a point of view like, how is this misogyny, how is it affecting me right now? So you never get people who are thinking about it in the same way. And then it's like the history behind it and the amount of research she did to these stereotypes and the prejudices that Black women face in America. It was just, I really appreciated reading that book. I learned so much from her, and I was able to articulate my own Black feminist thought from reading it. And
all right now. So yeah, I was pulling up Mrs. Collins today, and I was, whew, I listened to her. No, it's beautiful because when I listened to her, I want to get her name correct. That's why I'm taking my time before I give you her full, before I give the full rundown on her. I was watching her speak on the, what did I write down? Controlling images. The controlling images of the Black, in the, I think the premises of the Black Feminist Thoughts. She mentioned the mammy, the matriarch,
yeah.
the welfare mother, the Jezebel, excuse me, the mammy, the matriarch, the Jezebel, the welfare queen, and then in this YouTube clip, she also mentioned the mule. Ooh.
Oh yeah, the mule of the world.
The mule.
For me, she made it seem like every Black woman was supposed to be the mule of the world, but in different ways. the different images that they put on us is like the different ways that they want us to be for the world, for white America.
Right. Thank you for saying that. And I'm glad you said for white America, because since she's a sociologist, or she studies within the field of sociology, she kept mentioning was it intersectional? Is it intersectionality? I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, right. That is the key term, right? That is the term, because she even did yes, intersectionality in sociology. I was listening to her, Professor Patricia Hill Collins. She did a lecture at Cambridge for I think a sociology class within the sociology department, and the way she broke down how she even came to this was, how do we free Black people? I think that was like her question that she started off with. It was in her, how do we free Black people? How do Black people get free? And this is so powerful. You have no idea the depths of this for me, being a Pan-African and just being here, just for the betterment of the those of the African-American diaspora, and connecting with you and through Instagram. And then you're like, oh, wait, I'm going to your podcast. I'm reading a book and I want to finish this book. And I'm like, okay. And then you tell me, okay, I'm reading Black Feminist Thought. I'm like, all right, Black Feminist Thought, we're going to talk about that. And then I said, okay, who's the author? Then I got the author from you. Then I said, okay, before we discuss, this book that you're reading, I also want to do my own background. And honey, that resonated. I mean, the work that this woman is doing, I'm grateful to have connected with you, for you to have shared your knowledge onto me, which we are now passing on to the world, and which we're now passing on to a lot of Black girls, Black women, white women, African, all walks of life. Okay, but primarily our people, because I'm here to reach our people, Black women specifically, because this is the category of women that she's speaking of. This is the category that she discusses within the field of sociology. How Black women, are pretty much more so just data. And sociology is how the different cultures interact with each other, right? We can go to what is the definitive, I'll go to dictionary.com.
So yeah, I'm back.
Yes. So sociology, according to dictionary, dictionary.com, is the science or study of the origin, development, organization and functioning of human society. The science of the fundamental laws of social relations. Social relations, very, very, very good point, because she was mentioning how when she went to school and she was looking to study, she wanted to study anything that was going to talk about Black people. She felt sociology was the main topic for her, where she can discuss Black people. And even though she wasn't able to discuss Black people the way she wanted to discuss Black people, at least Black people were being discussed. Okay, and the way that we're being discussed in terms of data, what system, are in place for us, you know what I mean? Like, let's say, like the number of men, or, the amount of, suicides came to me right now, but I didn't want to say suicides. I was going to say the number of people that have been incarcerated, and let's talk about the dynamics, and the systems that have been in place that have positioned a lot of Black men, let's say, that category, you know what I mean? Like how they've actually been victims of that. So I understood why she went into sociology, and then not only did she delved in a little bit more depth, and then she went into the Black woman. And she said that's like a conversation that nobody really wants to have, honey. Even and it's like feminist, okay, but there's different forms of feminism. Is it, she was mentioning the indigenous feminists, maybe their movement may be different from those of, let's say of the African American race or of the Caucasian feminists. Yes, we can call ourselves feminists, but what exactly are we fighting for? Is it for the collect? Because sociology, what she's doing is she's challenging the study of sociology. How are these systems that have been put into place to study how, human relations, how are they now? What are they doing now? See, now they're they've now been magnified, let's say, so now we're looking at, what exactly is being done for those who think a certain way and they've been taught a certain way based on the image that they've been given. Back to the, because we're going back to the images, right? So white men, she said, they have been told, or they have been empowered with this image of being the most superior, yes, the most knowledgeable, right, and whatnot. And now if we're going to trickle it back to the images, the controlling images that she had mentioned, and I think these are the images that she mentioned in this book, the Black Feminist Thoughts, right? Is that the mammy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, for the Black women, right? The matriarch.
Yeah.
The Jezebel, the welfare queen, and then she added on the mule. So I'm gonna let you go on that one because whoo, you opened up.
So
I like the conversation you started, honey.
So for me, it it wasn't surprising, and I feel like it's widely accepted to everybody that intersectionality is a thing for Black women, like racism and misogyny and sexism and all of that. It really impacts us more than anything. But the way that it does so through these images is just, it was an eye opener to me. So like with the mammy, that's the Black woman who cares more about the white one else's kids than her own kids. She's more focused on being the perfect Black woman for white America. And then you have the Jezebel, who's supposed to be this sexually integrated woman who just uses her body to do and get anything she wants, and it excuses a lot of the harmful actions against women like rape and stuff like that, because like, that's our nature anyway. And then you have the matriarch, which to me is people try to make it a compliment, but it's really not. They try to say that we're these strong Black women who have to do everything and be everything, but then the way that white America portrays it is that we're too strong and independent, emasculate the man, and we don't have any time for our kids because we're so busy focused on our jobs and careers and stuff, and so we're not raising our kids. And then you have Fair Queen, where it's literally the opposite of that, where now you're a stay-at-home mom, but you're too lazy to get up and do anything, and you're raising your kids with the negative morals that you shouldn't get up and get a job and stuff like that. And it's just like, you can, no matter what you do, what I'm seeing is that they have coin for every negative image, where it's like you stay at home but you're lazy, or you don't stay at home but you're emasculating the man and you're the head of your house, sexually promiscuous, or you're not sexually promiscuous and you're so worried about raising someone else's kids that you neglect your own. And to me, it just seems like no matter, they're trying to find a way to back us into a corner to make everything negative about us. And they're just trying to control our sexuality. And controlling our sexuality is definitely the number one tool they use to keep this hierarchy where men are on top. And then when you take the fact that they have men on top, you have Black men who see this hierarchy. They see this way of living that white men have created. And because they're the dominant group, this is what they're shoving down our throats. And they feel like to meet these expectations as a man, to even be a man. And that's so harmful in a community like the Black community, because we've never lived by these societal norms. Men are the rulers, or men are in charge of everything, and we have to be these, subtle women who can't speak up or do themselves. So I think that creates this relationship between Black men and Black women, where we're constantly feeling like we're being pit against each other, and we can speak up for one another. In terms of when women speak up against sexual assault and rape, men feel like that's a direct challenge against them. They feel like we're just speak directly against Black men. Every time I see this conversation, is Black men saying that Black women are trying to put them down. Or in terms of the dating interracially thing, where they feel they have to date white women, or white women are more attractive because of the negative images that Black women have in terms of our sexuality. I just feel like growing up and having all of these images put on me before I even knew that they were, before I even knew what they are, it impacted my self-esteem, affected who I was as a woman, it shaped who I became. And now in my relationships with Black men, I feel like I can never escape that image.
Wow.
Like, especially from white men, but like from Black men, I just don't know how I'm being viewed, which image
Right.
they have placed on me, how I could even challenge those images. Because in reading the book, Patricia Hill Collins, Professor Dr. Patricia Hill
Yeah, right.
Collins, she said that our
Queen
most
Collins, whichever. Yes, go ahead. No, I'm serious because
important
chills are over my body. Just go ahead, continue. I'm so sorry. Yes, Patricia Collins.
she said that our most important as Black women is to create our own self-images of who we are and who we want to be. And although I feel like I have created a self-image for who I am and I want to be, I just still feel the effects of other people's images being pushed on me and how I want to carry myself and how I want to react to those images. And it's very straining and tiring on my mental health every day, not knowing how I want to combat these images that are pushed on me
Yes.
as America.
Oh. Woo, let's take a moment. Let's just breathe on that. Okay. So what I want to do with you right now, like seriously, I just literally want us to do is like take deep breaths because we're having a conversation that this is the conversation that shakes rooms. This is the conversation that makes, that separates the weak from the obsolete, honey. Hello. So let's take a moment and take a breathe. Okay, I'm about to take a deep breath. How about you? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, deep breath in. I'm gonna hold that thing. And on the count of 4, out. Some people do a 4 count in where they count, they breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now out. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Honey, and again, one more time. Breathe in. and I breathe out. Now I did that one for myself because like I said, I'm very grateful to be having this conversation with you. I'm very grateful because this is the premise of what Are You Mad stands for. I am a Black woman. I am a Black woman in America. And not only am I a Black woman in America, I'm a first generation immigrant. So I have another lens, so to speak, that I'm looking through. And I just know that my father, rest in peace, Michael Nono, had instilled in me the Kwame Nkrumah mentality to whereas, we learn and we go back home and we rebuild. But while I've been here, before I can even go back home, we have to address the elephant in the room because I've gone to school as an African-American student from kindergarten all the way up, I did take a break and I did do some schooling in Ghana. And when I came back, I was even more efficient. My eyes were a little bit more, my lens was definitely adjusted. And I just knew that I needed to excel academically. I knew that was my only escape out because we lived in the hood, okay? Living in the heart of North, shout out to 440. And I just knew that I didn't separate myself from the African Americans, so to speak. But I know that in my home, we moved a little bit differently. And it wasn't to look down on or whatnot. I looked at it as I was within. Now, with my elders, however they may have looked at it, it doesn't matter because in my opinion, I was the real experiment. I was the experiment. You guys, they migrated over to the States and they procreated and I was, me and my brothers and my sons, we were a product. So now I'm in the American system, So back home in Ghana, everything, they think, well, used to, now that social media is now present and a lot of truths are being exposed on YouTube and whatnot, a lot of social issues are now being brought to the forefront, such as this one. And I just knew that there's like, this can't be like, there's got to be more. And I have this ability, because I call myself the spiritual mental health whisperer. And I say that because I've been through so much in life that I've taken a moment to relax. I understand that self-care is literally vital to my existence in this system, within these systems of America. I've watched family members come and go, just to jump a little bit without, going to my whole background story of how, I, prevailed from the hood to the top type John, type conversation. But it's pretty much along the lines of like, yes, I've seen the different classes of systems. I've been educated. I've taken some sociology classes. I do know how we are viewed. We are viewed as a category where we're a class. Not only is it it's like a class system, and then within those classes are subdivisions. So, you have your middle class, lower class, whatnot. And within each class, there's still someone who's viewed as the lesser than. And most people, or they're not, or they're underrepresented, right? Because it's all a number. Everything is data. So it's all about percentages. Yeah. Like, let's say percentages of Black women that have, graduated college, that percentage is actually high, by the way, or versus percentages of, everything is a number. So when you start to go into different categories and you start to notice that the representation of our people is a little less than, than other numbers or than other classes or groups of people, you begin to wonder, like, well, why is that? See, this is where sociology comes in. Sociology is supposed to come in and explain, what's going on with these different classes, these, these human relations, or these groups, these cultures, and whatnot. What's going on between, like, then they start to go into the age groups of people that are, that are prone to, let's say, go to school. I'm just throwing these random things out there. The point that I'm making is that everything is data, even down to our phones. For you, I don't know if you started, I don't know if your page is, if it's a personal page, but for me, I now have a business page, right? And what my business page is all about data. We are all data. So the main point is, from me jumping from one to the other, is that as a collective group of data, let's say as the African American population, we are a group of data, then the Black women is another group of data. And now correlating it to, let's say, social media, so that it makes sense for those who may not be able to be following along. Let's say social media for those who are in business. It also goes to the age groups of people that are, let's say, looking at your content, right? You're right, the age, or then you have women, then you have men. So it's, how are we being represented in the broader spectrum? This is the conversation right now. And this is what Patricia Collins is putting to the forefront. Black women, we've already had these controlled images over us, right? Mammy, like you said, we got the mammy, right? Just out here serving, just want to be, who wants to just serve, watch kids on? Let's keep it 1,000. All right, but if you're watching them kids, right? So she's saying, while watching those kids, have your little side hustle on the side, or, make it work to your benefit, whichever it may be. You just be creative about it so that you can break out of this class system that they've been conditioned over hundreds of years to place us in. So now, like she said, she mentioned about, I don't know, I think she mentioned like some, let's say this, how it's like, oh, she's the first Black woman within 140 years. So she's like, all right, well, what's going on? Yeah, she's like, that's a long time, don't you think? Like, she's like, 140 years is a long time for to be a first Black anything. So what, so now the conversation is, what's taking place all this time that may have prohibited these Black women from being in certain rooms? Because she was saying, along with these controlled images, right? Because they perceive us, they probably look at me, probably throw the Jezebel or the welfare queen or matriarch, or they could throw all, like, the thing about two Black women is that a little bit of all of these may apply to us. And that's so sad to say. And you mentioned a good point about how the Black male, you said, I don't even know how to, I don't know, the Black man is looking at me. Which category do they have me under, right? Basically, did I follow you? Because you touched another level there. Exactly. Because I have conversations with, I'm on these dating apps, I'm dating, I'm a single mommy right now. I'm trying to, Mommy trying to get her, get her groove back or whatnot. And I am dating men. And I'm now like my conversations are now based on not just the physical, because physical, that'll get you in the door. Now what do you want to talk about? So now once we start to talk, I want to know about your character. I want to know, like, some of them, they may put it in their bio of like, what they see women as, or, don't ask for this. Some of them have their preliminaries, don't do this, don't do that, or whatnot. But honey, you made a very valid point. And like I said, I am in my late 30s and I am learning myself. I am healing from a lot of past traumas. I'm allowing myself to heal. I'm allowing myself to feel all the pain. I took some time off, and I know it feels like an I, but the premise of this podcast kind of formed based on me realizing a lot of these pressures and knowing that I need to speak up, knowing that we need to start having these conversations, because if I'm thinking this way, I know there's a few others. So, we're not just going to sit here and suffer in silence, or as fellow Kuti would say, suffering and smiling, right? We need to have these dialogues. So I'm appreciative of you. For us having this conversation. I'm appreciative of Patricia Hill Collins for, writing this book from the sociological perspective, which she's challenging it, which I love it. Yes, we must use our platforms to challenge these systems that have been in place, because, we the people, which people are we referring to? Because sociology, the numbers are, because the higher numbers are referring to this one. What about those lower numbers that are underrepresented? How are we representing these people?
Yeah.
Which is us.
I think the best thing about the Black Feminist Thought was that she made it clear that Black Feminist Thought applies to everyone. Like, it benefits everyone.
Yes, because it's a collective thing. Because at the end of the day, sociology is studying the human relations and how different groups interact with each other. So at the root of it all, it's pretty much how are we representing each class? Are we representing? Are we ignoring it? Are we choosing to ignore it? So when we start to think collectively, it's pretty much like, yeah, all we need is love. Yeah, just a little bit of love, just a little bit to go a long way. Just a little compromise, a little compassion. Yes, to understand, like, wow, yeah, I have been privileged for so long. And like she mentioned, she said she's had conversations with folks who've never had to think about money. So their struggle is different from someone who may have had, to always have to climb uphill. So yes, all collectively, we must all look at the roles that we play and how we contribute to each class on the census. We all just did the census, right? So I'm right there. Get the update account of the number of the different categories of people, and because it's supposed to have enough. The numbers are supposed to be able to send the representation and or support, right, for these groups of people to be active members of society. Let's say. So I'm just going to put that in the best way for it. But I'm just thankful to have this conversation with a young lady like yourself, who's fly. No, I'm very serious, because you're not just it's about brains and beauty, and you do it both. And I'm just like, yes, I love to have a conversation with my little sis, so to speak. Let's talk about the Black Feminist Thought, and you have enlightened me. You have taught me, so thank you. Thank you for introducing Patricia Collins to me. And for that, we're introducing Patricia Collins to our audience.
No, thank you for having me.
No problem. And if you are reading any more books that you want us to discuss, I think we should keep this conversation going, like at least every now and then. If anything comes to you, if you're reading a cool book, and I think we should have this conversation at least once a quarter or so. What you think?
Yeah. Definitely. I need to read more books about Black feminists. Actually, Patricia Hill Collins, she featured a lot of Black authors, Black feminist authors, Black women, like what's her name? The name. just she had a lot of Black feminist authors in there. She quoted them a lot. And I really want to read the book that she had in her, and I'm gonna read those sooner or later, but they're just so heavy that I've read a lot of fiction in between because I need
deep. Yeah, it's deep.
time.
Listen, my
I wrote them down.
neighbor, God bless her. I'm gonna be interviewing her too. She's another powerful woman who she is studying, I think, Black women gynecological studies. Don't get me wrong, but I believe she's finalizing her PhD program right now. And first of all, her apartment is like a walk-in library. I could go downstairs and she's always giving me knowledge. I'm like, yes, my community is feeding me. I'm getting my tribe. So you're like a part of the tribe now, because you're like, yes, Patricia Collins, and I'm like, yes, Black Feminist Thought. So we're gonna keep this conversations going. I'm going to contact, she's definitely going to come in on a pod too. So, I'm going to have her then, we're going to be continuing these conversations, but I want to thank you for
the books.
Huh?
So I have a list right here of books that I need to read in her book. And you might have read some of these, because these are really popular, but we have The Bluest Eye by Toni Morris, I believe.
Let's go.
And then Their Eyes Were Watching. A Raisin in the Sun. And it's crazy because I was supposed to read A Raisin in the Sun in school, but I transferred schools, so I never and then I want to read I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, her autobiography. And there's a few more books, but those are like the most important ones to me right now that I want to read.
Perfect. And I'll read them with you again. I think I've read all of these, but it's been so long that I need to go back and reread them again, because as we grow up, experiences change, and then the perspective, and we can receive another message from. I'll read those with you. I love to read those with you, and I want to talk about them with you. Then when we read them together, we can talk about them like they just came out yesterday. Okay? Yay!
And when you reread books, like I just read books that I read when I was younger, and I remember nothing about them. So you'll probably be reading it like it's a whole new book.
I know I am, because I read it's because even thinking about the titles, it's like patches of the plot that comes to me. But I'm like, nah, I want to go back and read it because I don't really remember. I'm probably mixing different books together. So yay! I'm excited for that. Oh my god, you're so awesome! And you go by what? Do you want a following? Like, what is it? I know. I just said come on a pod, and I know I really asked like how you want it to be viewed. So you go ahead and did you want to introduce yourself in a certain way?
Oh yeah, my name's Marz. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, and I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, and I just moved to Jersey City. I moved out on my own, and I feel like I'm finally becoming an adult. I'm 22 years old, and I spent a long time not knowing who I was or what I wanted in life, and now I'm so much more confident in carrying myself, the things that I want, the things that I will accept. And as a Black woman in America, I feel like that's the one thing they don't want you to have. It's hard sometimes, but at the same time, I'm proud of who I am becoming as a woman.
And I'm proud to watch you blossom into the woman that you're becoming. I remember when I was like, I think we were like at Aunt Liz's house or whatever, and I think you were mentioning the school that you were going to go to. You were like, yeah, Montclair. And I was like, oh my God, I went to Montclair. And you were like so young, but I knew, I could see the drive in you then. Like, no one could tell you nothing, honey. You were like, I'm here, but I'm not like, I'm not of here. Like, you know what I mean? And I translate with that so well, because it's like, yes, you see me here, but I don't know which lens, okay? I don't know which image, all right? We're going to go back to Patricia. I don't know which image you have me classified as, but I'm going to tell you why I'm here. So shout out to you, baby girl. Listen, love you, because that's what I do. And you keep shining, and we're going to keep having these conversations, these dialogues, and we're going to keep connecting and understand that there's more of us like this. So what we are doing is history. We're starting a movement, honey, and we're having this conversation with the young Black women that need to be having these conversations, and those of other walks of life who want to contribute and or support the movement. We are always here for it. So God bless you and thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I
Okay,
found
are you mod? Okay, go
it. Yeah, I found it interesting when you said that because you grew up in immigrated a family that immigrated and you felt like you always had to excel in school because they will drilled it into you that you had to excel and you had to do the best. I think that growing up in America, I mean, I know some Black families have this, but I wasn't always pressured to do well in school. And nobody was really on my back about it. It was a time when I got into college and when I got into the career, like in my workforce, that I finally learned that I actually had to be better than everybody else. I couldn't just be. It was really disheartening because I felt like I was a great person. Even huh?
You said it was disheartening?
Yes, because there were people who were so mediocre and they brought basically nothing to the table, viewed as better than me because of the images that people put. Yeah, so I remember I would have to speak up like we didn't have all of that financial backing of a parent or of a wealthy family, that I would be underprepared for class sometimes. I was a fashion major, so we would need all of these different things like fabric and pencils and scissors, like just a whole package of stuff that we needed. And it was costly. And I remember that they were grading us on whether or not we had that stuff. And I remember I came to class and the only thing I was missing was colored pencils. And she asked me, "Do you have the colored pencils?" I don't have it right now. Like, I couldn't afford it yet. And then she said, "Okay." And she wrote down a mark. And I said, "Well, are you giving me minus points for that?" And she said, "Yes." I was like, "Oh, well, I had so many other classes. I couldn't afford to get the color pencils right now." And then she said, "Well, so does everybody else." And I said, "Well, everybody else doesn't have my situation." Dismissed in that situation. I ended up having to go to the dean because when I went to another professor about it, the professor just told me, "Well, fashion is major. If you can't afford it, just change majors." So it was very much like not being supported. It's feeling like because of how I grew up, I wasn't gonna be as good as because I didn't have access to this and that and all of the stuff that they had access to, all of the support that they had. So it was very hard.
Wow. I empathize. Yeah. I empathize with you so much on that. And like we were just mentioning, based on like the sociological standpoint right there, how many Black women were in your program? Can I ask that? Do you have like a rough idea of the number?
In the whole program?
Well, what's in your class? Let's make it easy.
Okay, well, the program wasn't that big.
Okay.
So we name all of them. But I would say probably in my classes, I've had probably like 5, 6 Black women in my classes.
Out of how many?
Oh, out of like maybe 40.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So right there, that underrepresented number right there. So I hope that based on that conversation that you had with the dean and whomever else, I truly hope that when other young Black women, students such as yourself, are running across, because everybody broke in college, and you have to buy all these things outside of your books. You have to buy materials
and you have to get graded on it.
Woo! That's grounds to failing. Like they're setting up the underprivileged to fail. Like where's that gap? See, that's a perfect example right there. Like what's happening to that gap with students such as ourselves? Because let's keep it 1,000. Like, it's not easy. It's not easy growing up in America. Like we all have debt like out of our wazoo because we know that we have to go to school. Like I can't go to school. I can't get a, what is it? This is commercial that used to go crazy that me and my my friend we would laugh about. It's like, I can't get a job because I didn't go to school. I didn't go to school because I didn't get a job. And then it'll be like the spiraling, kind of like a hole that like kind of like falling down. And this is a perfect example of that. It's like we are the underrepresented class of people, and what exactly is being done for these groups in place so that we don't have to fail and or lose points because we can't. Are you kidding me? And that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
What Collins said, she said she's been in classes with people, and she has had conversations or been in rooms with people where they've never had to think about money. And you know what happens what then inadvertently happens, let's say to represent, like, let's say, like, you said you weren't really pushed to go to school. Exactly, because it's in a way, it's like, you can see it like as a form of protection. It's like, why even go there? Because all they're going to do is probably judge you, and you're not going, it's like, it's kind of like that. We're not going to make it anyway, so why are you even trying? Kind of like this learned helplessness mentality. Yeah. And it takes folks like you and I to say, no, honey. This, I am not of this. This is not of me, and I do not have to accept this. And therefore,
yes, and when you do speak on it, you're seen as this angry Black woman, because I remember all of this time on certain things that I just knew weren't fair, that nobody else either cared to speak up about or felt like they could speak up about for fear of retaliation from the teachers. I always felt like I had to stay because I was not going to put up with that. And I remember having the conversation with this same woman who told me to switch majors if fashion was too expensive. I was having a conversation with her about a grade that I had, and she told me, you're a problem student. And I said, how am I a problem student? She said, the teacher gives you grades, you can't. And I was like, well, if I feel like I am being, if I feel like there's something wrong, I'm going to speak up. How am I going to get anything if I don't speak up for myself? She said, well, maybe another major. Maybe you could do that in math when there's a bunch of men. You could do that in science where there's a bunch of men, but we're women and you can't talk to us like that. And I just felt like, what are you talking about? Like, I myself, regardless of who it is.
Can I ask her race,
regardless
please?
of who it is.
Can I ask her race, please?
Well, she she was Korean, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's rough. That's rough. Wow. I'm whoa. Okay. We could talk about how Koreans treat the Black folks too. But I'm sorry. Well, that's for another episode. Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say to you, as an African who knows like direct roots, and like all I want to just say is I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry that you have to go through this. I'm sorry that you have to watch this. But same token, there's a part of me that's grateful for where you are now. I'm grateful for where we are both now, to where is that we're able to have this conversation, have this exchange, or they call it cultural exchange, right? Have this cultural exchange. Yeah. Because even though, see, when my parents separated, because my parents actually did separate, so yeah, my go daddy, who was here for like, hey, go. I knew multiplication tables in and out before I came back to the States, and I was like excelling in all of my subjects because my dad had put it, because we did some schooling in Ghana, like I was saying earlier in the conversation, we did some schooling in Ghana. And what I like about the African school system is fun, because you got your, everything is rhythm. Everything is a rhythm. So it's like in class, you're literally like, 1 plus 1 is 1, like everything is a dance and mnemonic. So they make learning actually fun, and they make it exciting and challenging. And you want to, get as much as possible. You want to be at the top. So, you know what? Shout out to you for innately wanting to be at the top without even knowing. You understand? Like, it's within your line. You didn't even, even though you're looking at, your peers amongst you, like, for example, like, like you're looking at your family members. I'm looking at my family members too. They're looking at me too, like, Nicole, what are you doing? I'm like, what? Are you not? Like, this is, I'm doing this too. And they're just probably looking like, and they're watching it. And they're just kind of like, okay, look, yeah, she's onto something. So shout out to you too for being on to something and for speaking up and for knowing who you were, knowing who you are. Excuse me, no, knowing who you are. You know, it's called the diamonds in the rocks, right? Or the rules.
Yeah.
Rules out of concrete, right? Like, you know. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you for having this most needed conversation with me on this Sunday. I put on my Sunday best for you, so don't mind me. So you probably look like, oh, I didn't know we need to get that. No, it was just me, just being very, very moved by listening to Patricia's YouTubes. I'm gonna put some clips. I'm gonna put the clips of the lecture that I listened to, so that more women or all walks or whomever can also receive knowledge, and that's because of you.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to help and like share my knowledge with anybody, anytime. So I'll definitely to talk more when I read more.
No doubt. Okay, well then let me know when you're ready to talk. All right, now open invitation. Oh, I definitely got to get you some merch. Okay, so what would you like? I got to get you something. What would you like? Check out my site. Let me know what you want. I want to send you something just to say thank you. Because I mean, if you want it, if you like it, if anything suits your taste, because I know you are a designer, and this is just me just saying, I got a podcast, and look at my brand, and follow us, and join the movement, you know, so join the conversation. So that's basically what my brand represents. But we got yoga pants, so check it out, and let me know. Seriously, send it to me, and I'll send me what you want, your size, your address, and I want to ship it to you. Just say that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for being